What's good?
What up? What up? Live and direct.
Haha. Guaranteed raw.
Yeah,
So,
man.
yeah. So and I know the audience will kind of build as we go along or whatever, but we were scheduled to have trombone extraordinaire Jeff Bradshaw. Unfortunately, there were some external issues that are going on right now where we can't make that happen, but Jeff's going to be on the show next week, same bat time, same bat channel. So 7 o'clock p.m. I know it's 7:20 right now, but 7 o'clock Central Time, we'll have Jeff Bradshaw on. He's got a new album out that comes out on October 30th. It's called Stronger. So we'll talk to him about that and just kind of his whole musical journey. But at the end of the day, I figured we have nothing but time, air, and opportunity. And we also have one of the dopest DJs that I've ever come across. So I'm like, hey.
Right on, man. Appreciate that.
Without further ado, he goes by the name of James Biko. What's going on?
Known to many as DJ Needles. It's how we doing it this evening. One time for Jeff Bradshaw,
Yes. We're gonna make it happen.
Get on the side.
So quick, before we even get into like your whole story of DJing, I want to talk about the name change and what brought that about. So when did that occur, and what made you flip over from Needles to Biko?
So I kind of gave myself the name Needles. It didn't happen like a lot of nicknames or stage names, particularly DJ stage names, happen. Like, I heard stories, about, crews giving people names, or you kind of just having a name coming up and you use it as DJ name. I wasn't really rolling with a crew when I started. And people really didn't know who I was anyway. So I kind of just gave my name Needles, and I gave myself that name because I kind of like things that are kind of like a 2-in-1 type of thing, double meaning, if you will, something sort of like that. And so what I thought was the name of a Dick Tracy villain. I mixed it up. It really wasn't. I thought it was Needles, and it turned out that the name I was thinking of was Mumbles. And so but when I found it out, it was too late. But also the other reason I picked Needles was, at that time it was like the late 90s, and a lot of DJs were kind of switching over from vinyl to CDs, and they were kind of being like CDJs, or DJs that just play CDs, because CDJs are actually the name of the hardware that you use to play the CDs. But I was so vehemently against that. I was against, rocking. Huh?
Thank you so much for being against that.
I mean, look, I ain't, disclaimer, I'm not against it now. I've come around. I don't mind any type of, medium that one plays music, as long as the music is dope. I have no problem with it. Just as a disclaimer. But back then, I wasn't having it. I was like, no, vinyl, man. Vinyl. Keep the vinyl spinning. Keep that alive. And so what I wanted to get across to a lot of people was that I was not a dude that played CDs. Once you heard my name, you heard Needles. It was gonna be a needle on a record, and that was it. So that was pretty much what that was all about. Like I said, through the years, I came around. Sometimes I don't use actual turntables that have vinyl. Sometimes I use the controller, the digital turntables. It depends on the set or the gig or whatever. But I'm not mad at
I mean, it's better on your back. Let's just be real.
Huh?
it's better on your back. Let's be real.
Oh,
You
yeah.
walk into a room without crates. You walk in, boom, plug in.
For sure. For sure, for sure. And it's, especially Asian B-boys like myself. So uh, you know, I feel like every set really doesn't deserve for real turntables. You know what I'm saying? Like every crowd, you get into a lot of corporate gigs and things like that, which are great, which are cool, pay the bills and people people across the board that all they want to do is, have a good time, dance, party, whatever. And so, but they're not necessarily the crowd that's going to trip off of some actual turntables. There might be a couple of, music snobs in the crowd that's like, oh yeah, see you doing it like for real, for real, But I'm there to rock the whole party, and I'm not really there for the adulation of the music nerds. You know what I'm saying? Like or the DJ snobs or whatever. It's like
So I'm not a
which
DJ.
I am that myself. I'm not gonna lie. I'm that myself sometimes, but there's a time and place for everything. And so I feel like, with the different types of technology that keeps on coming and things keep evolving and getting more convenient, to be able to perform, and you don't necessarily have to keep using your supreme equipment. To me that better preserves it.
Right.
Even with when Serato came out.
So
I was
here's my issue with both Serato and the CDJs is it made people like me think I could DJ. And that's my issue. There are too many unskilled laborers in the industry. Real talk. I mean, they don't understand. They don't have a respect for the. And I'm speaking generally, but we can call people out. There's no respect for the culture. There's no respect for the craft. They don't understand how to blend. They don't scratch. They go from like 110 BPMs to 72 BPMs. Half of them don't know what the acronym BPM means. I mean, so that's my whole issue with that is it created a lot of false DJs.
yeah, and that's true, but false DJs, fake DJs, whack DJs did not begin. They didn't start CDJs
Right.
or the digital era or anything. Yeah, there's a lot more of them now, but you know, it it's
I mean,
whackness.
it ushered in the Paris Hilton era of DJing.
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, before that though, it would have been it likely was, those uh celebrity DJs as well. I mean, like all they needed was, somebody else's record crate telling them what to play, which a lot of them I would imagine did, you know. So it's nothing. I don't think it's anything new. Um, I just feel like realness always wins. It always, well, at least it's always recognized. You know what I'm saying? Like, a whack DJ, can a whack DJ rock a crowd? Certainly. Yeah. Because all crowds, most crowds, I would say this, it depends on the crowd. If you have a general crowd, I've always kind of, just kind of describe the crowds as like a general crowd versus a specific crowd. A general crowd is not looking for DJ skills. They're not necessarily looking for a DJ who knows how to mix or anything. They're just like, play the song that I am familiar with. You know what I'm saying? I don't want any surprises. I want to party and dance. They are the people who are looking for a human jukebox all night. God bless them. They can do whatever they want, and the DJs who want to give them that, they can have at it and do that.
Okay,
Do
so
I?
before I run down your resume, I want to get to where Biko comes from.
Oh yeah. So right. I was going by Needles and everything, but I always was like, I always kind of had it in my head like, I I don't know if I was ever really 100% as far as like loving the name Needles. I don't know why. I just was like, I think there's a better name. Like, but I couldn't think of anything. I went through a lot of different names when I started to make beats. I named myself Proceed. I ended up kind of settling on Nodzilla for a long time.
I
Uh,
remember that.
yeah, and so I kind of had aliases and everything. I tried to name myself Shortcut at a point, not realizing there was already a shortcut. I'm really big on that. I don't really want to have the same name as somebody else. And then when 50 Cent came out, and he was saying shout to Needles, and people was like, oh, what you got what? And it's like, no, there's a producer named Needles, who's doing. And so with that kind of was the final nail. I was like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm not big or anything necessarily. I'm not nationwide or any, but it's so it really
Okay, look.
the chance.
No. You're not gonna allow you. I'm not gonna allow you to downplay yourself like that.
No, I'm not. That's no false modesty or anything. I'm not trying to
Okay.
self-deprecate or anything. I'm just saying there was really no chance of people mixing me up on a national level with that producer.
Okay.
But in my head, I'm just like, but it's already done. You know what I'm saying? I know.
Okay. With that being said, you had a mix that went beyond nationwide, went worldwide, and
Right.
put together two of the most unlikely, or obviously they were likely in your head, pairings, and that thing took off like ridiculously, and to the
Yeah.
point where Camp Low, who you mixed the song with, put it out on their own website.
Yeah. 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 The blend was called This Is Hot. This Is Hot What? And it was just kind of borrowing a line from their original song Luchini, where they say this is it what, and I just said this is hot what, borrowing that line and fusing it with a part of the title of the beat that I used, which was entitled Hot N Bomb, by Bobby Schmurder. So I used that instrumental, which as soon as I heard the song, I wasn't I wasn't a fan of the song per se, of his rapping style, but I recognize a dope beat, you know what I mean? And so, and I think it was Lauryn Hill who said, like, years ago, it's like, people was asking her about the state of hip hop. They always ask about, oh, what do you think about the state of hip hop? And she was just like, the beats, nothing is ever wrong with the beats. Like, the beats have always come through. You know what I'm saying? Like, and she's right. And it was just like, a lot of people just view that the lyrics, they've just gotten down on the spectrum of I don't know, creativity, skill level, or whatever, and it's all subjective, but that was kind of real in what she said. Like, like, when they were doing like the Yin Yang Twins, like, them beats was hard, like all like the whistle song, all that stuff. That beats have always been great, but it just depends on you as a rap fan, what you like as far as lyrics. If you can get with a different style of a dialect, you know what I'm saying? Like, it has to do a lot with that. But anyway,
And cutting you off for a quick second, shout outs to my man Charlie Chan, Soprano Gangster, because I was in the booth when he broke that the Whisper song.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
wait till you see my
so yeah, so DJ,
but
do break records.
yeah, we do, man. And I'll talk about that a little later. I mean, like, there's so many that I was fortunate enough to be able to break on my show, um, you know, on
Right.
Raw Authentic. But so I was a fan of the beat, and I actually tried it out. I had it in my head for a couple days, maybe a week or so, and this was right before Art Beats and Lyrics came to St. Louis for 2015, I want to say.
Shout out to Jack Daniels, Art Beats and Lyrics.
Or one time, Jabari, what up? Shout out to Jabari. So you know, I think I was in the car and they played the beat for a commercial and I was like, man, that's so dope. And then for some reason, Camp Lo popped in my head. I was like, what can I blend that with? And then Camp Lo kind of came in my head. And so I tested it out at the crib. And then when Art Beats and Lyrics came through, problem was I didn't really have a crowd to play it for, but that's the first time I tried it out live. I didn't even have it, you know, done to where I could just play the blend. Because all the people, they went upstairs because, you know, Art Beats and Lyrics, they normally do like 2 levels where all the DJs DJ all night, and then another level is the headliner. And I forget who was up there. I mean, maybe it was Scarface or somebody, I don't know, but a lot of the audience weren't, all the crowd was not there. So, but the following week, I want to say, or at least, you know, sometime after that, shortly after that, I completed the mix and the blend at home, and I released it on, I want to say January 29th of 2015. And that day, like, I had to have released it early in the morning because it was already, it already started taking off, you know, the same day. You know, tons of shares, tons of reposts, and you know, comments, and just a lot of love. There was a lot of not love as well. You know, like a lot of people was like, no, do not, no. You know, which I can understand. You know, it's like I said, it's all subjective, and I wasn't, you know, this is social media, so you know, you shouldn't get high on the good stuff, because you know it's gonna be some bad stuff too. So it's, you know, just take it all in stride and everything. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed, you know, what it did, and what it, you know, how many people it connected to, and you know, it was just awesome.
Thing is, I didn't get that drop from you. I got it from some random person who I knew wasn't connected to you. I'm like, oh, this is big. That's when I knew. It wasn't like I was like, oh, okay, that's Needles' page. It was like, it came from way left, and I'm like, what's going on?
It took on a life of its own. Truly, like it just it went everywhere. And the thing about it, I think what helped it was that I put out a video blend. You know what I'm saying? I did the
Camp Lo's video blend.
Yeah, I took Camp Lo's video, you know, swapped their audio with the blend, and you know, that video on YouTube and my Facebook pages, they were just reaching, you know, thousands of views. You know what I'm saying? I truly believe if Facebook and YouTube hadn't been some bitches, then it probably would have been my
question is, like,
would have been millions.
So, well, it was a million. Well, it was more than a million. But my question is, if I pulled it up right now and played it, would Facebook immediately mute the audio, or what would happen? Because
I don't know.
Technically, I guess you kind of own the rights, but you don't own the rights. And
I don't.
like I said, Camp Lo was down with it.
Yeah. I mean, but we all know, you and I both know, that the artists being down with it don't matter. It's the labels. You know what I'm saying? It's the labels that are the bitches who want to, you know, come in and ruin everything for everybody, and not realizing that it really kind of helps their cause. Like, and it's nothing but free promotion. And also, I'm not getting anything from it. I didn't put it out for sale. I never do that when I use, you know, established copywritten music. You know, I never put it online for sale. You know, it's just like, why would I do that? You know what I'm saying? Unless I do have, you know, an agreement with, you know, the associated labels and everything, or what have you. You know, it's always just for free. If you want to download it, then, you know, download it. If you want to just stream it,
a bunch of people have it on their pages. And if this portion of the video gets muted on Facebook, oh well, I gotta record it. So that goes so hard.
So hard. It's crazy. Their lyrics ride that beat like perfectly.
Yeah. It's like they were supposed to be on this beat, even though we know how like classic the original.
Yeah, I love the. I mean, like that's one of my favorite hip hop joints of all time. You know, without question.
So,
but like any good MC worth the salt, you know, you can take their lyrics and put it on different things and it's still, you know what I'm saying, it'll still shine. So that was kind of a testament to their, you know, rhyming style and ability and I mean, like, you know, it transcends eras. You know what I'm saying? Like that joint, like them over that beat could have definitely come out legit in this era right now, you know?
Like if they were performing right now, they'd be very wise to perform to that beat, to that version. Like
or at least, you know, do what a lot of rap groups and rap artists had done for their live show. You know, start off with your original and, you know, maybe in the second verse kind of kill the original and throw on some other beat that, you know, you can hype the crowd even more with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's what the Fugees were really good at doing that. If you watch a lot of, you know, any of their past live shows, I noticed that, you know, they would do that. Like they would bring in, you know, reggae, dancehall rhythms and kind of replace the second verse with, you know, this real dope dancehall rhythm and then get back to the original or hip hop classic, like, you know, maybe slip in Top Billin' or you know, I Got It Made, and, you know, and it would be so dope, and they would be rhyming over that their actual original lyrics, and it'll be amazing. So that's kind of what I took. Also, I mean, like, it's the art of the blend. It's that's just hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like that's been hip hop since, you know.
So we got to go there too, because you got a whole series of blends.
So
we got to go there. But for the audience member who has never heard of James Biko, DJ Needles, let me break it down.
One sec, one right before, because I didn't tell you why I changed the name though. Like I had already had those seeds of doubt, but then you know, and the thing about me is that I'm not just a DJ. I don't just DJ. I'm a graphic designer. I'm a graphic artist, illustrator. I make beats and things like that. And so I was just like, huh?
And dope t-shirts.
I have my line, you know, all props deserved. Check it out. But yeah, and so, like, you know, DJ Needles is like I said, you know, I've said before, like DJ Needles is, I grew to really, you know, dig the name. I was glad that it caught on. You know, a lot of people in the city really know me as Needles. You know what I'm saying? And that's been really great. The fact that I was able to brand it and successfully, you know, get my name known. Being on the radio definitely didn't hurt, you know. But I realized that DJ Needles is such a DJ specific name, obviously. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of wanted just a name to kind of encompass, you know, everything that I was into, and that I was promote and get out there. And so, I was always like, James, I want, that's my name. And so, I kind of want to incorporate that. I don't have to. But then I always had in the back of my mind, I always remembered the song Steve Biko from Tribe Called Quest, right? And back then, in like 93 when it came out, I didn't know who Steve Biko was. And I didn't know, and the song was dope, but it didn't really do a good job at explaining who he was either. I mean, maybe it was something in there and that I missed, but what struck me was how dope the name Biko was. And so, I kind of kept that. And then obviously later, in life, I found out, I did the research and everything. And I just found out this was this really awesome, amazing activist in South Africa. And like, a lot of people don't know about him, as well as they know about Mandela and things like that. And, and I figured, since a lot of rappers, they like to take on, mafia kingpin names, like, obviously that ain't my style, but if you want to be Freeway, not Rick Ross and
It's funny because
Biggie was Frank White.
Until later that I knew that Freeway and Rick Ross were both
Right.
Freeway Ricky Ross.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like, they like to take the names of a lot of the crime lords that they admire. And so, I'm not trying to do that, but I get it. And so I'm like, this is something this is somebody that I do definitely admire. And so I wouldn't mind, kind of assuming that name and applying it to what it is that I'm doing. I believe that I'm doing, progressive work through DJing and my graphic art and illustration and things like that, and the events that I create. And I think that Biko is a good name to kind of have at the, as an anchor for all of that stuff. And so I settled on that. And so for a few years, I was kind of trying to just ease into it. I was like Nappy on flyers and everything. So Nappy DJ Needles, aka Biko, just to let kind of people know. And then I want to say 2018, maybe 2017, 2018. It was like the 20-year mark of me DJing because I kind of started in '98, and so I was like, this is kind of the time to do it. And I just was like, so I'm officially going by James Biko or just Biko. Anybody who still calls me Needles, I don't care. It's fine. You know what I'm saying? You know me as Needles. Please continue to call me Needles. But professionally and, as an artist, it's James Biko. And so, people was like, cool, I get it,
So
down with Biko.
And it's like, so you said Tribe, and when I think of Stephen Biko, I remember it was a sister soldier, like she was giving a soliloquy, and in one of the Public Enemy, and I can't remember which song it was, but Terminator X keeps cutting it off, and she's like cutting it up, and she's like, Stephen Biko, Stephen Biko, Stephen Biko. So that's when I first, and that's what I love about hip hop. And music in general is there's a crossroad between art and activism. And so if it's not for Public Enemy, I don't know Stephen Biko because they're the first introduction to Stephen Biko. They were the first introduction for me to a lot of different people in the activist community.
Right.
So that's what I love about music is, I can party, I can kick it, I can unwind, I can have a drink and enjoy myself, but I can also educate myself through music.
Yeah, totally. Me too. Same here.
Yeah. So now, we gotta get a resume. And you said you started in 1998, so that's the beginning. I can proudly say I was there for the beginning.
Yeah.
I remember you DJing Friday nights down in the basement at Blueberry Hill.
Yeah.
What was it called? The Science, or what was?
Yeah, the Science. It was an 88.1 hip hop show. Originally started
before it was 88.1. It was actually WashU's radio station, 93.
What?
Yeah, it was I can't remember the call letters, but it moved over to 88.1. But before that, it started as WashU's radio station.
Before KDHX?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because WashU's radio station, I think that's KWR.
Is W something, and I can't think of what it is, but it was Friday nights, because I used to live right next to there, and I turn on WashU, and oh, they over there, and I just walk on over.
Wow.
So it was run down the kind of crew.
So, the show was originally started by G Wiz, and it was called African Alert, right? And then it changed over to Street Vibes, and then it was the Science, because Wiz he kind of semi-retired during the time that it was maybe a little bit before, maybe a couple years before we did the, they started doing the live broadcast. So the live broadcast that started in '99. I started DJing legit, I like to say, in '98, starting at the Red Sea, what used to be the Red Sea in the Loop, right?
University City Loop, for those who aren't familiar with St. Louis, it's a historic area. Nelly from the U.
Yeah, and so, but prior to that, I started doing parties. I don't know if you can call it DJing or whatever, but I started doing parties with tapes, mainly tapes, a couple of CDs in '94. So '94 is when I started doing parties, but DJing, like for real DJing, like, mixer and mixing, scratching, all that stuff, that was like '98. That's why I say that. But yeah, I was doing parties from '94 to about '96 or so. I took '96 as the year that or '97. I kind of was up to that point. I was getting a lot of work. Like I was actually doing pretty well. I was doing parties here and there in my neighborhood and outside my neighborhood and stuff. I had whack equipment and everything, but it was people who really didn't trip off of that. But I always had it in the back of my mind that some kid was gonna call me out because I didn't have for real DJ equipment. You know what I'm saying? So I was always scared that I was gonna be, made. I was like, before that happens, I have to learn if I want to keep doing, and I did want to keep doing it because I like doing parties, right? And so I was like, I have to learn how to DJ, like for real, and so I took '97 as the year that I, did the whole, what is it, the 10,000 hours type of thing. And I found myself, I'd gotten a job at Vintage Vinyl in '97. I'd already started collecting records prior to here and there. But I would start getting doubles of stuff, learning how to blend and things like that. And in '98, I was ready. I had my crate of records that I would bring around. I was hanging out with some of the DJs, just observing. I would ask all the time, could you teach me how to DJ? And anybody who's asked anybody that, they know that the answer is usually a resounding no, because DJs are busy. You know what I mean? Like they're hella busy. And it's not because they're, being dicks. It's just like they're really busy and they're being straight up like, I ain't got no time to be teaching nothing. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so what I started doing was I started just still going to the sets and just really observing and really kind of seeing what goes into doing a set. And I kind of picked up those things and would go back home and practice and apply what I saw. And so, like I said, in '98, I was hanging out, and this dude, his name is Rich Money. He was part of, Charlie Chan's crew, 24 Scientists. And so he was doing a night at the Red Sea, and he, I would always have the records with me, because I guess he must have told me like, sometime soon, I might be able to let you get on and do like maybe a 30-minute, 45-minute set. I might need to go to the bathroom. I want to get a drink or whatever. And one night in the summer or the spring or the summer of '99, it happened. I played my first set at the Red Sea. I got a good response. I remember Mystic from the KDHX show, the Science, coming up to me and really giving me really great feedback. Like she loved the set, and I was like, oh man, like, and these are cats that I really look up to. Like, you know what I'm saying? These are like the supreme hip hop heads of St. Louis, and so if they digging it, then I might have something here. And so I just kept on doing it from there. Shortly after that, like 99 was really crazy. Well, 98, that's when I started doing that and started DJing like for real with vinyl. And then the following year, the beat started. 100.3 the beat, right? And I remember listening to it. Yeah, I remember listening to, the promos for it, and or just listening to it in its infancy. And Deja Vu was one of the. She was,
by the way, she is on Sirius right now.
Yeah.
It's not Heart and Soul.
I think The Heat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Deja Vu. She was on. She was one of the jocks, and I'd never heard her before, so I knew that she was new, and I knew because I was a radio head. I listened to the radio heavy. I was down with Kevy Kev. I was listening to Magic 108. I was all this, and so I'd never heard her before, and I thought that she was different. You know what I mean? I knew I heard something different in her voice and her delivery and how she approached being a jock, an ordinary personality, and I could kind of pick up that she knew a little about hip hop. You know what I mean? Like for real hip hop. She would use Pete Rock instrumentals for her music beds. The stuff that I could pick up on. I know that beat, And so anyway, I'm still working at Vintage Vinyl. I think I heard on the one of the promos that they were looking for DJs, you know what I'm saying, to be part of the DJ squad. And so one day she comes to the loop, and she comes into the Vintage Vinyl, and I hear her voice, and I kind of recognize the voice, and I'm like, I ask her if she's Deja Vu. She says yes, and I'm like, are you all still looking for DJs for radio slots? And she says, if you have a tape, I'll listen to it, I'll check it out. And I always had tapes with me, because I mean, like at that time I was riding a Metrolink, and so I had my headphones and I was listening to tapes all the time, and I had tapes of me DJing at home, and so I gave her one. And shortly after that, she got back in touch with me and was saying that, they might have something on a Saturday night. And it was a 7 to 10 slot, like a 7. I'm like, I'd never been on the radio. I didn't even want to be on commercial radio, honestly. My dream was to be on KDHX. You know what I'm saying? That's where I wanted to be. I didn't really want to be on commercial radio, but I knew that KDHX, that was such a long waiting period for, like, I knew tons of people, I knew it was that type of a thing. It was like, you're gonna have to get in line, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I had a show on KDHX, and honestly, it was through an association, and that's how I ended up with a show.
Yeah, I feel that, man. So thankfully, I mean, like, she liked what she heard, and she kind of she agreed with me, like, that there was a lack of underground hip hop representation on the station, and that's what I brought. I brought classic hip hop as well to kind of balance it out. I felt like classic hip hop, old school hip hop, whatever you want to call it, and then underground or indie hip hop or whatever. The common denominator of those two crowds, that would be, well, I was just like, I feel like if I'm going to do an underground show, especially on prime time, I would have rather been on later at night. You know what I'm saying? to get like late night heads to listen. And
right now, that's the party cruise. That's the, hey, 7
right.
to 10 is when you listening to the radio
Yeah.
pregame because you're about to go to a Club ISIS or
Right.
Club Casino or the Mono or whatever it
Yep.
was at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I felt pressure. You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh no. I mean, like this is amazing. Like I can't believe I have the 7 to 10 spot, but I know this is the beat though. At the time, it was the only rap station in St. Louis, and this was Nelly time. This was
for non-St. Louis people, the beat is, I mean, well, you're used to hearing the beat now because every city has a such and such the beat.
right.
It was, I guess back then it was still Clear Channel. Now it's,
Yep.
I don't know what it's called.
iHeartRadio.
Radio, but back then it was Clear Channel.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
the big boys.
And dude, this was in the midst of the Master P era, the Cash Money era, Nelly era, you know, basically commercial, blinged out hip hop was it that
Playing
it
Slum
was,
Village.
huh?
And you playing Slum Village.
Yeah, I'm playing Slum Village. I'm playing Most Def. I'm playing, I'm playing the Roots and Lauryn Hill and Common and things like that. Which, I just felt like for all of the No Limit and Cash Money and Nelly records, I feel like there needs to be representation of this other side that's being pushed out of the mainstream spotlight, which I think was not, it just wasn't a good idea in my opinion. I was like, keep all that other stuff. I mean, like I ain't got nothing against it, you know what I'm saying? Like do that, but I mean, you can't act like these other, dope artists don't exist. You know what I'm saying? Like I felt like just a few years back, just some years back, we were able to hear things like Brand Nubian and Queen Latifah, along with Luke and
right.
And Dr. Dre and Snoop and everything, and Ghetto Boys and things like
and
that.
King
Like,
Son and all, yeah.
and I'm saying I didn't like the divide. I hated that it kind of split, and it was a hard line. Like it left no room for anything other than what was deemed hot, quote unquote, and commercially viable.
So my question is, coming from St. Louis, in your case, East St. Louis, because you represented to the fullest. You from the ill side, the 618, and represented proudly. But coming from that geographic area, do you think that gave us kind of a leg up on being able? The way I look at it is, we got the best of all worlds, because I'm the type of person who is an E40 head. And at the same time, I can spit Chino XL. And at the same time, I can go down south to an Outcast but if you're from North Carolina, E40 wasn't hitting you unless it hit the mainstream radio first. Yeah. Being geographically centered in the Midwest, did that kind of give us an advantage?
I think so. I mean, I definitely think so. I mean, like we had no choice but to hear it from all sides, man. And absorb it, and really develop a keen ear and appreciation of different styles. And that's why I think that's why the party scene, the night scene, and everything was so great up until a point, because we did appreciate pretty much everything that was legit dope. You know what I mean? Like we didn't like everything just to like everything. I mean, like it had to be good. And thankfully in that era, like most everything that was out was great. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about that early to mid 90s era, where you had the MC Breeds and you had, people like who's the guy? DJ Jimmy. I mean, like we were getting stuff was so like we were like a sponge in the middle. You know what I'm saying? And even here we were producing great stuff. I mean, like we had Ram Love, we had Silk Smooth, we had, you know, that was putting out stuff. JCD and the Dog Pound. Like it was
Silk Smooth doesn't get nearly enough credit for being one of the fathers of Saint
yeah.
pop. I mean, Trick with a good rap,
Yep.
like all of that stuff. Like I'll never
Clientele.
clientele. You got that. Yeah, I'll never forget seeing his video on MTV, and I was like, St. Louis is on the map. Made it.
Yep. Yeah, man. Yeah. It was a really cool, you know, I was in high school at that point, and so like it was just exciting, man. Like that was the soundtrack. That was the soundtrack. And so you know,
What I say about St. Louis, though, is like, for instance, people say Nelly is quote unquote an overnight success, or Chingy was an overnight success, and Jibbs and you keep naming Ebony Eye, all these other people who came out of St. Louis, who Jaquan, who blew up like immediately as soon as they hit the national stage. And the thing that I keep saying about St. Louis is it's a proving ground. It's not overnight success. They put in the work in St. Louis. St. Louis wasn't going to let a product come out of the city that wasn't ready, because St. Louis people will cut you at the throat if you're not up to par, and they'll tell you you ain't this, you ain't that. Once you get through that vetting process of St. Louis, well, everything else is a cakewalk to me. So when Nelly blew up, I wasn't surprised that he blew up.
Right.
Country Grammar was out for a year in St. Louis before it hit New York airwaves.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of like that whole thing, like, you know, if you make it here, you can make it anywhere. But along with that, on the same token, it's, you know, a lot of times, unfortunately, it kind of, you know, a lot of artists believe that it takes leaving the city and getting cosigns elsewhere, and then, you know, coming back and kind of blowing up there. So I mean, I guess it depends on which perspective you're looking at. I didn't know that Country Grammar as an album was out that long before it actually hit nationally. I knew about, you know,
not the album, but the single.
The single. Okay.
The single was out for a year.
Yeah.
And even before that, the Lunatics had they joined out.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah. Now they, you know, I remember them dropping in '97. You know what I'm saying? Right. And they blew up here. They blew up. I mean, like, you know, to Give Me What You Got. You know, even the I'm the Boss joint, like that was, you know, I was a fan. I was a legit fan. I was real happy for him. I mean, I went to Cardinal Ritter, so I knew Ali. You know what I'm saying? He graduated with my sister. He was a senior when I was a freshman. So, you know, I was happy about that. I had met Keywan before any of this started. You know what I'm saying? I met him. I was working at the airport. I want to say he was working for the airport. I was working at the gift shops, and he would come by and he would tell me about this group that he was in, and then they was about to come out. And so I remember that. And then so as soon as they came out, I was like, yo, and then they used the, you know, the Give Me What You Got sample, which you can't lose on that. You know what I'm saying? That was just a rap, you know what I'm saying? Like Nelly laced the last verse of that, and you know, I was really happy about that. They was performing, they was killing the performances, and then for a second they just kind of went away. And so I'm you know, I'm pretty sure that was their time of really kind of networking and politicking and getting, you know, navigating through, you know, the business side, and really kind of deciding, you know, okay, we're gonna have you, Nelly, come out first as a solo artist on this national stage. And they did it, and, you know, it was a wrap after that, man. Like,
right. As they say, the rest is history.
Yeah. So
I still have not given your bio. We've been in almost an hour. I haven't given your bio. You are, as you mentioned before, you started out in '98. You went right after a year into a major radio station, 100.3 The Beat. But before 100.3 The Beat, there was another station in St. Louis called Magic 108. Then it became Magic 105, Magic 104.9, but old heads always remember it as Magic 108.
108.
The father or mother to Magic 108 was KTZ. And you have a connection there.
Yes.
Because your father was one of the most well-known and well-respected disc jockeys in the St. Louis area.
Yeah.
Gentleman James Gates.
Right. Brown Eye Scorpio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in your blood.
68, man. He's been doing it, and 1968, and so like, he was on KTZ. He was on a few other radio stations. Then he started. He was a general manager over at WESL and on the East Side.
The original roll call.
Yeah. He had the sense to hire Dr. Jockenstein, man, who is just was a beast and a citywide treasure, man. You know what I'm saying? He like that team that he had was just so phenomenal, man. And so like, and of course, as a lot of people know by now, that's where he oversaw the very first playing of hip hop rap music on the
Say
air.
this again, please, because people outside of St. Louis need to understand the significance of this, please.
Yeah, the Robinsons of Sugar Hill Records, they say that, because obviously I didn't know, but they claim that my dad, Jim Gates, Rapper's Delight was played first on St. Louis, Metro East airwaves for the first time. Like, it apparently it hadn't been played in New York yet. I think the New York radio, they didn't start playing it.
You got to understand, we're talking about 1979. It's the era of disco.
Right.
Hip hop is still something in the park in the Bronx, and that's pretty much all it is. Sugar Hill comes out with a label. They press up some discs, they send it out, and no one touches it except for your father.
Right. And so again, the story is kind of cloudy. A lot of people feel like he's the first to play rap on the air, and he wasn't. An on-air personality, a jock by the name of Lady Edie B. She was the first, and she did not want to. It's such a radio story. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, and she tells it on my man G Wiz's documentary of St. Louis hip hop, the history of St. Louis hip hop and things like that. And so, basically she's a jazz enthusiast. Like, she loves jazz. And she really was just trying to play jazz in her slot. And my dad, number one, WSL wasn't a jazz station per se. It was R&B and funk and stuff like that. And but she wanted to, and I feel her, because being somebody who kind of knows a specific type of music, you kind of like, but yeah, we should add this too though. So I feel where she's coming from. But anyway, that just illustrates how far from this new genre of music she placed herself. Like, she was not trying to hear no rapper. And she, my dad, I don't even know if he fully appreciated it. I think he just heard something in it. Like, I might not get it. I might not even like it right now, but I know that it needs to be heard. And so he was like, you got to play this in your slot, and so she played it, and they got tons of calls after it, just
Did you
requesting
ever have that conversation with him about what it was about this particular song that said, like, was it the dum dum dum?
Yeah,
Was
yeah,
it
yeah, and
or was it that hook where it's like hotel, like what was it?
I think it was a combination of those things that he heard, and he knew it was gonna resonate. You know what I mean? Like, definitely the familiar bass line of the Good Times record by Chic. Um, that's an automatic hook. You know what I'm saying? Okay, we're gonna get you with the beat. You recognize that, it's familiar. I mean, like, didn't that come out the same year?
Yeah, it was like back to back. They were both on the radio at the same time.
Yeah. So,
And in fact, as a kid, because I'm like 9 years old, I would get mad when it was the Chic. Because at the beginning, you hear the dum dum, and you're like, "Oh, that's Rapper Just Like." And then you hear, "Oh, good
you're like, I'm trying to hear hip hop hip it.
time."
But no, I think he was like, I just knew that it was different. It was something that, was going to be popular real quick, and I need to be the station to play it, like, at least for this market, and yeah. So I mean, like, he's the person that greenlit the first airplay of rap music on uh on radio, and so I feel like, man, if don't nothing else afford him, a star on some Walk of Fame,
For
that
real.
does.
Look, somebody need to reach out to old boy at Blueberry Hill and be like, "Look, you get a star." Real
Yeah,
talk. Uh,
yeah.
because I had to reach out to him. My uncle's on the Walk of Fame, Archie Moore, and
Oh,
it
wow.
took a lot of campaigning and networking to make that happen.
Okay.
Gregory Freeman, who has since passed and was a phenomenal soul over at the Post Dispatch, was an advocate for that, and so I'm very grateful for that.
Nice.
Um, so, now, so that's your lineage,
Right. Yeah.
but your lineage don't scratch a record, don't make a beat, don't rock a crowd. DJ Needles James Biko is also, how many times have you been awarded by the Riverfront Times for your DJ skills?
I believe it's 11 times.
11 times. For
Yeah.
those who aren't familiar with the Riverfront Times, here in Minnesota and Minneapolis, St. Paul, it's the city pages. You think of the weekly tabloid or newspaper that comes out that's kind of like alternative left press, and you'll find it in any major city. That's what
Yeah.
the Riverfront Times is to St. Louis. 11 times you've been awarded for your DJ acumen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And quite honestly, it took them a while to realize what was happening because the streets had awarded you long before that.
Yeah, and I think both. I think both. Yeah, the streets and RFT appreciate it.
Right. The RFT was able to put something on your resume to get the corporate gigs.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely believe that, I wouldn't be in those talks had it not been for the recognition that people have had for me, and put me in a place of where people kind of, I don't know, my reputation might precede me in talks. You know what I'm saying? Like, people kind of know what I'm about. Um, you know, those things are always nice, man. I totally appreciate um all of those, accolades and things that have helped get me to where I ultimately am. Um, but it was never about that, obviously. It was just, you know, I didn't start by, with the mindset of like, I'm about to win all these awards. I'm about to, get some corporate gigs. That's what I'm about to do. Like I was literally, it was just something really cool to do, and an avenue to play music that I thought, should be heard. You know what I mean? Like there was a void, there, and I wanted to try and fill it, do my part, and just be a part of the culture that I loved and followed and lived. And so that's where that came from. And so, it's always great when that's recognized.
Yeah. So the mark of a good DJ is being able to rock a party. The mark of a great DJ is being able to take the crowd wherever you want to go.
Mm.
And to me, that's where you're a great DJ. I remember I brought you up here to Minnesota. I want to say it was 2015. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was. I remember that.
Yeah. So you come up here, you rocking. It's a day party, expressions. We having a wonderful time. The crowd is with you, and you knew that they were with you. And the reason I know you knew that they were with you is you put on Ray Charles.
Yeah. Nighttime, the right time. Yeah, man. And I probably played the I Got a Woman before that.
Yes, yeah.
Probably. Because I do that from time to time. I just feel like that's like one of those records that binds most Black people. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of us, for a lot of us, not all of us, but for a lot of us of a certain age, the first time we ever heard that was on the Cosby Show.
Yep.
The right time.
Coming down. Baby.
Exactly. And it will always hold a special place in our hearts. Like, and as soon as you hear it, I think it kind of takes people from being in the club and just being Black and glorious, and us knowing these words and how it makes us feel, and it takes us back to when we saw it on the Cosby Show, saw all of them performing it, and just the fun of it. And it transcends people from club mode to almost cookout mode. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's mainly what, I've never been
mode, you might want to fight. In cookout mode, you with family.
That's what I try and definitely get across a lot of times. And so, like, I'll turn it down when the baby part comes. Everybody wants to scream the baby part, obviously. And it's just one of those things where the first time I played it, I'm like, why ain't I played this more before? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what needs to be a staple in my sets, because it just brings everybody together. Not even just Black people, but mostly, I do most of my stuff for Black people. And so, like, it's gonna definitely do that, because that's one of those staples in our culture for a lot of us. And so, I knew that they were ready. It's a certain crowd that you look for. You know what I mean? Like, it's a certain crowd, and you always are able to assemble that crowd that DJs such as myself live for. You know what I'm saying? So
thank you. Because I love the culture. I appreciate the culture. I literally would sit there, and my joy sometimes, many times, is to be able to watch the DJ set up the record and be like, oh, you finna go there with this. Oh, this is gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and waiting on that response, because I know what's coming next, and I'm waiting to see the crowd as they react to what comes next.
Yeah. It's all cultural, man.
Yeah, we still got to talk about the blends, so I want to get to that as well. And like, the other thing is, shout outs to Questlove, because I remember when I first saw him DJ, and I'm trying to think of the name of the club. It was over on Washington. They used to have the sushi lounge in the front. Keenan and his group had brought on the foundation. I cannot remember the name of the club at that time.
I remember he's been here, a few times, and I think the first time I saw him was at what used to be called the Vault.
Oh,
And that was on Delmar.
Delmar.
That was on Delmar.
Shows at the Vault.
I think that was the first time I saw. Maybe that was the first time I saw him DJ though.
Yeah,
because I saw, like, that's the first time I saw him come to St. Louis as a DJ, and that's it, and just do a DJ set. That was the first, and that's the first time I saw somebody use Serato too. I think that was like 2005.
Right. So it was around that same time, and I can't remember the name of the club.
I think you're thinking of what is called Mood now. I think it's out of business right now.
Okay, but it have a sushi bar in front, a little club in back. It was a dope little spot.
Yeah.
But what I remember was folks. Well, people like Questlove or the Roots DJing, like, that's the drummer. Okay. And then once they bought into the concept that Questlove can throw down, he had the whole crowd. And once again, from good to great, he put on Nirvana Smells Like Teen Spirit. And you could see Black folks literally stand up, run around the club yelling, "Oh, he went there." Like that type of deal. And that was like, it let me know that, one, our culture isn't like very put in a box. So we can be hood, we can be from, like me, Captain Goodfellow, you from the ill side, East St. Louis, but Nirvana Smells Like Teen Spirit comes on.
I mean, look,
I had MTV.
Look,
that
right.
song.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say.
Yeah. He put it on at the right moment.
Like, we didn't have our heads under a rock when, the other music started to play. I'm not even gonna call it white music because Black people invented rock and roll.
Right.
So, and it was you know what I mean? So, but the other music, the like rock music and things like that, even pop music, we paid attention to that too, throughout the 80s and the 90s. I loved the alternative era. I loved Stone Temple Pilots. I loved Red Hot Chili Peppers. I loved Soundgarden. I loved Nirvana. I loved, I loved Garbage. I loved, Hole. I loved all of that stuff. It was
Joe, all of it. We can just keep naming.
Dude, I mean, like, it was dope. It was a dope time for music in general. Like the 80s and 90s across the board, like all these genres was popping. R&B, soul, hip hop, pop,
battle,
rock.
Metallica was kicking it. I'm not saying I've been in a strip club, but I've heard that they play a lot of Metallica there.
So yeah, but so and that wouldn't have surprised me either. I think I was at that one that you mentioned, but even prior to that, I was doing to show you how connected DJs are that are of a certain cut from a certain cloth. I was doing Jazzy Fat Nappy at 609, right? I started playing rock. I started playing all that dope ass rock shit, like Nirvana and the Red Hot Chili Peppers and stuff like that, and people would lose their fucking mind because it was great and they didn't expect it, but it's always good to take these different detours, that people seem to think that Black DJs don't do. I mean, like, and it's not like we're fronting or anything. It's not like it's an act, because we genuinely like this music. You know what I'm saying? And it's always great that when we share it, we see that there's a good number of people that obviously dig it too, and they're not too cool, to let their guard down and just let it go and wild out.
So once we get out of COVID, and I'm saying when, not an if, I'm just hopeful that way. But once we get out of COVID, one of the things that I really want to bring to Minnesota is the idea that parties don't happen just Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturdays.
Yeah.
So in St. Louis, the weekend started on Thursday. And I say that because you were at 609 across the street. Chan was at the Del Mar. We leave one of those two and go down to what was called Rivers on the landing, and Stan the Man was down there on Thursdays.
Man.
Or you could go to the other Harry, as I say, Fred and Harry on 7, which was in Midtown, and on Thursday nights, that was the spot. I used to love that Thursday night vibe, and all these places, with the exception of, I think, like Rivers, didn't charge a cover. You just walked in and had a ball. And so that's what I want to bring up to the Twin Cities here in Minnesota is that type of vibe. Man, I'm you taking me back when you talk about 609. You talk about one of the dopest events.
Yeah, and I look back on that fondly, man. I mean, you know, it didn't start at 609. That's actually where it ultimately ended. You know, the Jazzy Fat Nappy series. It started at Churchill's, what used to be called Churchill's,
Yes,
you know.
And then Posh.
And well, it started at Churchill's in the Central West End. It moved to Nick's Wine Bar, also in the Central West
Which
End.
I love. I live literally above Nick's Wine Bar.
Oh yeah.
Trouble for me. Yeah.
Man, yeah. And so so I, you know, and from there, because it had 3 homes, you know, it had Churchill's, it had Nick's, and then it had 609. Now I did spin at Posh at, you know, what became Posh from Churchill's, but it was never Jazzy Fat Nappy. It was something else
with you before I moved.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, like, you know, those venues were special, man. And what was great was I started Jazzy Fat Nappy at Churchill's, and it was a success. Like it was a success. It was a success to me because it didn't bring out a ton of people at the first time. I still remember it. It brought out the right people.
Like,
you know,
it was like Marshall Falk and them cats.
So not the first one. But the first one, I mean, like, it was like a lot of friends. It was just a lot of friends. It was a lot of, you know, music heads, and it was just a vibe. It was just the perfect vibe. You know, not a lot of dancing per se, but then it grew. It grew from there. And you know, I mean, like, Churchill's, it was so small, it didn't take a lot to pack it out, and it was packed for a long time. And then Nick's, it was good too. But when I moved to 609, it was weird because it took a while. I think it took a good part of the first year to build it up because it was kind of dry. It was dry for the majority of that year, but then it got back, you know, the fire. It got back reignited and it just took off. Then, you know, toward the end, one too many knuckleheads started coming through, and kind of ended it. His fights breaking out, and
that's the story of all.
I'm like,
ain't it?
I'm like, how would a fight here? Like, I'm not. It's not that type of
like little brother, and all of a sudden, bloom, bloom, bloom. Like,
I was really upset. I was like, y'all are fucking up my vibe, man. Like, ugh. Like years before Kendrick. So I'm like, bitch, don't kill my vibe. And they did. You know?
Here's the deal. Because this podcast will like kind of launch with all the others. We had Zoe before you, we had Eric Roberson before you. Like I said, we were supposed to have Jeff Bradshaw. We'll have him next week. When I'm putting them out on the platforms kind of all at once.
Yeah.
This one is going to have a special place in hearts for people who are from St. Louis, people who are DJs, people who love the DJ culture, because this is just so much like inside information, or as they say in politics, inside baseball. This is just a wonderful conversation to have right here. We still have not got to your blends. Tell people about your blends, where they can get your blends. What are your blends?
Okay, so I have numerous blends. You know, don't believe what the internet says. Probably only be like, yeah, just that Camp Lo and Bobby Shmurda. That's it. No, I had before that, like right before that, I did a blend with Dead Prez's hip hop and tonight's Higher Ground, and that beat is looking for hot, looking for hot, looking for hot, looking for hot, and it's like really just crazy and loud and just like I felt like I knew that both of those songs had the same tempo pretty much, and I always felt like I love the original, like all of these songs that I blend from the verses, like the acapellas. I love the originals. Obviously, I'm a DJ. I've been playing those songs for years, and a lot of times I'm always like, as far as with the Dead Prez hip hop, I love that record, but I wish that it was lower. I wish that it was.
In terms of frequency.
I just wish that it was hitting a little bit deeper. On the low end. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't really that loud or thick when it came to the drums. That bass line was killer, and I love the drums on it, but I always wanted it to be a little bit thicker, and so blending it over the Higher Ground record, I was just like, man, okay, this is giving me that thump, that real big, thick low end that I was really thinking that, this song could really benefit from. And so that's what, I'd been looking for a beat to put that over, to blend for a while, and then I came up on that record, and I was like, man, and that's not even an instrumental. That's the song. You know what I'm saying? They make beats, instrumental beats. They don't. It's not like it. I took out lyrics over the song. It was just the way the beat was made, and so I always love that one. There was another one called Shot Passing, where I mixed Passing Me By over what's the French Montana record? It was shot. It was shot, something shots. It was something with shots. I forget. And I thought that came out really well.
But you got some entire albums, like A Tribe Called Cast.
Yes. Yeah. So those were just the loose ones, I guess. And then I did A Tribe Called Cast with Tribe Called Quest and Outkast.
And those the beats from Tribe Called Quest and the lyrics from Outkast.
Right. And I put that out 2013. I had that idea from a post that I had made on Facebook. Something that maybe I said, A Tribe Called Quest and Outkast, they're like the two best hip hop groups ever, or something like that.
Which is
and
true.
Yeah, and immediately it must have happened like this. Me and my friend Gabe, also known as Trackstar the DJ,
also DJ to Run the Jewels.
Run the Jewels. We like he typed what I thought, or maybe it was the other way around. We had the idea of A Tribe Called Cast. You know what I'm saying? Like that name. And from there, I was like, man, something needs to be done with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I'm like, I could make a mixtape that kind of just, features both groups, and that would be cool. Or I could take the acapellas, because Outkast is very liberal and, about their acapellas, thankfully, and put them over Tribe's beats. And unfortunately, it would only it could only be like that because Tribe ain't that. Tribe is stingy with their acapellas. Like they didn't let them out for nothing. So that's what ended up happening, man. And I felt like as soon as I settled on that idea, as a hip hop head myself, I'm like, hell yeah, people are gonna like this. I love it. You know what I'm saying? If I wasn't making it, I would hope a DJ would, you know? And so I put that out 2013. I want to say, was it 2013? I believe it was. And so, you know, that got passed around. That was all over the place. Thankfully, a friend of mine, Radu from Birmingham, of Bama Love Soul, he featured it on his website, and a few other people. It took off from there. It ended up on OK Player, and that's how it kind of exploded.
So, to OK Player, which leads to my next connection, which is Fonte, which leads to the Foreign Exchange, which leads to Biggie and the Foreign Exchange blends.
The Notorious Exchange, that came out, was that the following year? I want to say, yeah, it was 2014 because I felt like this is 10 years past the Foreign Exchange's debut, which was 2004, and 20 years past Biggie's album debut, which was in 94. So I felt like that was a cool, you know, intersection, and why not? You know what I'm saying? Like, again, I had the Foreign Exchange instrumentals, you know, right here. You know, they were liberal with that. A lot of Biggie acapellas became available. And so I was like, you know, this is very unlikely. You know, Foreign Exchange is more R&B-ish, jazzish, you know, a little bit of hip hop, but for the most part, it's smooth. It's, you know, with a hard edge, but it's, you know, and Big, of course, he's hardcore, you know, lyrics and all that stuff. And I thought that it really came, you know, I thought that juxtaposition was really interesting, and I thought that it made for a really cool experiment. Um, and You know, put that out, and it kind of took off on its own as well, man. You know, a lot of people liked it, a lot of people shared it, and I think it's still, you know, there you go. Yeah.
I never amount to nothing. For all the people that lived above the building that I was hustling from, that called the police on me when I was trying to make some money to feed my daughter.
Oh, man. And if you know this Foreign Exchange song, this hits so, like...
all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine, putting pepper and heavy tea up in the limousine, hanging pictures on my wall. Every Saturday, rap attack Mr. Magic Molly Mall. I let my tape rock till my tape pop, smoking weed and bamboo, sipping on private stock.
Yeah.
I really loved how it came out. I ain't even gonna lie.
One, yeah. I mean, I loved it. Because the thing is, I'm literally hearing this Foreign Exchange song. So I'm hearing a girl singing it, but I'm like, but that's Biggie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's juicy.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, those were the two blend projects that I, you know, officially.
So where can we find that? I mean, I pulled you up.
Oh, right.
But where can we?
So you could definitely, you can find it on YouTube. I have them on, you know, YouTube to listen to play. But you can also go to SoundCloud, and I believe I know I have the Notorious Exchange there. I think I've yet to put A Tribe Called Cast on there, which I need to. But you can also go to my Bandcamp, which has all of them. And you can actually download them if you like. And you know, but I feel like don't nobody needs to download anything anymore. You can just stream. You know what I'm saying? But you know, if you like, it's there. But actually, you know what? That's not the only one. And that's not even, those weren't the first ones. The Tribe Called Cast was not the first one. American Gangstar was.
Yes.
That was the first
one.
one.
Jay-Z and Gangstar.
Yeah. I almost forgot about that. And so that was on Bandcamp too. You know, and I really like that one too. That was when I was still thinking that, you know, it still kind of needed some DJ cutting and scratching in between. You know, so it's a lot of that. But for the most part, it's you know, it's my first blend project. Jay-Z's lyrics from American Gangster over Gangstar Beats. And, you know, I always like a good, like I said, I like a good name. I like a good, you know, kind of clever word play, you know. So American Gangstar, that just kind of made sense
It
to me.
made absolute sense.
Yeah.
Absolute. So for the past hour and I'm gonna say 15 minutes, we've been talking to my man. He went by the name of DJ Nappy Needles. He's now James Biko. He's an 11-time Riverfront Times award-winning DJ. He's the son of the legendary gentleman James Gates, who is credited with authorizing the playing of the first ever rap song on commercial radio, period. That being Rapper's Delight. He's a wealth of knowledge. He helps me co-pilot the ship for Destination Unknown when we're doing this show. We've got Jeff Bradshaw coming up next week. He's got a new album coming out October 30th, and that new album is called Stronger. And we've had a phenomenal conversation. Like I said, if you're from St. Louis, if you're a DJ head, if you're a hip hop head, this is the podcast where it's going to resonate with you, whether or not you know me or if you know Biko. It's just that wonderful storytelling of hip hop. And so, brother, I appreciate you for who you are and who you've always been. I want to thank you for co-piloting the ship. What do you have coming up right now?
So I am working on re-releasing my original project entitled The Ascension. It came out in 2015. It's going to be the 5-year anniversary coming up at the end of October. And I've never had it on legit platforms, so I'm gonna release it, you know, to where it can be available on you know, Apple and Amazon and all these other platforms. And it's just it's a project that I, you know, that I produce the beats, and a lot of St. Louis based artists are featured, you know, like Tef Poe.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, I'm blanking right now. Indiana Rome.
Okay.
You know, Arshad Goods. We had Mastermind on there. It's a lot of dope, you know, artists on there.
St. Louis. Shout out to Vito Money, aka Black Spade, Coltrane, Metaphor. Man, St. Louis has produced so many dope artists that we may know in St. Louis, but maybe didn't hit the national scene like they could have or should have. But if you were at the High Point Cafe on a Monday night, you know who they are.
You know.
Yes.
You know.
And shout out to Fester for piloting that ship for years.
Word. One time. Yeah. Fester.
Yes. Real talk. So once again, this is Destination Unknown. I also want to point you to another podcast. My nephew is a comedian. Many of you know him as his stage name, Hot Sauce. Some of you know him as his government name, Brandon Glover. Some of you know him as Brandon Hot Sauce Glover. But his podcast is From Over Her to Over There, keeping St. Louis. The most recent episode is with Murphy Lee of the Lunatics and also comedian Honest John. So on all streaming platforms, it's From Over Her to Over There. It's spelled HERR and THERR. This is Destination Unknown. I'm Harry Colbert Jr. This is my man James Biko, aka DJ Needles, and we will see you next week with Jeff Bradshaw. Peace.